Hello, sports fans. It's me, Sportsman Z, Bob Zolke. And today you can see that I've got on my 1919 White Sox stuff. And a couple reasons for that. First, this is 2019. So this is 100 years after the White Sox reportedly intentionally dropped the World Series to the Cincinnati Reds in the best of nine 1919 World Series. And if you subscribe to Baseball Digest, as I do, in this month's issue there was a lot made about that. Rick Cerrone, the editor-in-chief of Baseball Digest, wrote a piece about the White Sox, and there was also an article done about the Cincinnati Reds in this issue, where they did a mock, not really an interview, but really like a mock something of how the manager of the Cincinnati Reds might have described the World Series, Pat Moran. So what I want to find out is, I want everybody's opinion, because I've heard a lot of things. I've read and heard, if you see the movie, if you read the book 8 Men Out, it makes it sound like the White Sox did indeed try to drop the World Series to the Reds. But what it also does is it makes it sound like, particularly in the movie, makes it sound like the White Sox were vastly superior to the Cincinnati Reds. All evidence to the contrary. Because the White Sox in 1919 had an 88-52 record. And the Reds had a 96-44 record. And reportedly, the Reds in the National League were playing against a talent field that was more spread out, whereas there were fewer really good teams in the American League. So, where did the premise that the White Sox were vastly superior to the Reds that year come from? Or was it even true, or were people even talking like that? I mean, the only way that the White Sox could have really worked with the gamblers to throw the World Series is if everybody was absolutely convinced that the White Sox were hands down the better team. But the record and the leagues that they each played in and the personnel that each team had doesn't really fit that narrative. That really doesn't appear to have been the case. Also, in Stratomatic replays, I've talked to other people or seen other people post things on Facebook and on the Strat websites that said that they've replayed the 1919 World Series, and the Reds have won it. And I myself actually did replay the 1919 World Series, and the Reds won it. Now, the Reds won it in 9 games. It had to go 9 games. But they did win it in the series that I replayed. So I'm kind of at a loss here for what, and also if you read about what the various White Sox players did, Shoeless Joe Jackson hit like 375 in the series. Buck Weaver hit like 324, although Buck Weaver always said he wasn't in on the fix too. So, and even if you look at some of the other players, their statistics weren't so terrible. I mean, maybe Lefty Williams was, and Seacott, the first 2 games that Seacott pitched, he was horrible. And and if you watch the movie, you could see that there were times when they dropped Happy Felsch dropped a routine fly ball, and in the write up where they have Pat Moran describing everything, he says that that happens. You know, I mean that was really what he said. He said they in the article in Baseball Digest, they kind of make it sound like Pat Moran wouldn't have or didn't believe that there was even really a fix in that the White Sox were on the level, and that things like dropped fly balls and throwing to the wrong cutoff man and things like that do happen. And he's right, although they don't happen a lot with very good teams. So I guess I want to get a feel for what everybody out there thinks. Do you think that the White Sox, A, really were throwing the World Series? Or maybe there was fewer people involved than 8? Or do you think that they were playing on the level and there was all this kind of like really made up hoopla about it? And also, if they were on the fix and trying to drop the World Series, would they have even lost if they were playing on the level? I'd be interested to hear what people think, because I'm really kind of at a loss now, because I'm reading all kinds of different things that that they weren't on the fix, or that they would have lost anyway, that they were playing a very good Reds team and that they weren't vastly superior. And if they weren't, again, where did all that come from? So this is kind of a big mystery. And this is, of course, the year to do it, because this is the 100th anniversary of it. But I'd be interested to hear what people think, because I don't really know what to think myself. And so if you have any thoughts, send those to me. Here again is my contact information: Twitter, Instagram, my email address. You can send me an email. You can make a comment in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you like this commentary and you have some answers for me, please send them my way. But for right now, it's Bob Zolke, Sportsman Z, signing off.